Turn off your lights. Make sure your doors and windows are locked. Things are about to get spooky. I search for things people are too scared to believe in. By Cole Blaze K. To give you a quick summary of what it is that I do is kinda complicated. I'm the person that goes searching for things most are too scared to believe in, whether they are willing to admit it or not. I search for wendigos, aswags, kikimora, and other things that I'm not sure of. I keep a whole journal filed with everything I have encountered, but nothing compares to the being that I recently encountered, the thing that made me step away for a bit. It started with a rumor I heard in a bar in the middle of nowhere nonetheless. I had stopped in right after a case of mine that just ended, one involving a supposed Jersey Devil sighting, but that's for another time. The reason I stopped, you may ask though, is because the sign for the bar a few miles back kept blinking repeatedly, as if something was telling me to stop. The inside was a quaint place, almost like your typical old-fashioned movie bar, hustling, bustling, happening all around. One thing did stick out though, a light dimming frequently around a couple patrons. I made my way over and stopped nearby to hear what they were talking about. I only got a couple words before I spoke to the man talking later that night about a shadowy figure. Once things died down a bit, I decided to approach the man myself.
Hey man, I couldn't help but overhear you saying something about a shadowy figure.
The man looked at me for a long time without saying a thing. To cut the silence, I spoke up once again.
Listen, you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but this is kinda the stuff I look into. I'm an investigator of sorts. Take a look.
I opened up my jacket and pulled out the compendium I've been working on. Gently setting it on the table, I slid to the man, saying,
Have a look for yourself.
I walked to the bartender, ordered 2 drinks, and walked back to the man, handing him one. He took it and looked up and said,
Alright, I believe you. But I'm just gonna tell you a few things.
Do you mind if I record?
He looked sheepishly and finally spoke up.
As long as you don't use my name or this place's name.
Works for me.
I said, pulling out my audio recorder and loading in a new cassette. Audio transcript, case log 26. Name, John Doe. Location, not on file.
Ready when you are.
This creature, or whatever it was, it's not like anything here in this book. I know you got a few pages on shadow folk, but it's not like that. The thing was black. Just pure black.
Pure black? Not like a see-through-ish black or an almost black man.
No, not at all like that. It was just black. Like nothing was there. It looked like all black cut out of a man. No features, nothing. Just darkness. Like nothing I've ever seen before.
So you're saying that you came across something that was just pure black. Where did you find it and what did it do?
The man just sat there for a few minutes looking down as he contemplated his next words. Although he looked terrified, sweat started to appear on his brow.
Listen man, if it's too hard to remember or think of, I get it.
It's not that. I remember everything. I wish I didn't. The things it did and the things it showed me were... I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, not even a stranger like you.
What do you mean? What did it do? Where can I find it?
You could tell the eagerness in my voice to learn more.
I won't tell you where it is, but let's just say I haven't been to this bar every day for the last few months. It told me things it showed me. Oh God, the things it showed me. Everyone is dying. The world is on fire. And
The man's head fell into his hands as he began weeping, almost uncontrollably.
God damn it! Not again! I think it's time for you to leave.
The bartender yelled from across the counter. Auto script case log 26 over. After consoling the man and bringing him outside to wait for a taxi, he finally told me where it had all happened. It did take a lot of convincing, though. For the safety of others, I will not disclose location. But I wasn't even sure I'd find it. The place was interesting. The drive was as well. The man's instructions were pretty clear. Drive here, turn at tree, turn, and boom. It was a small, quaint town? Settlement? I don't know what to call it. Kind of a small communion. 3 buildings, a post office, a bar, and a rundown church. But neither of those were what I was after. A mile past the ghost town was a farm, or what was left of one. The barn collapsed, broken fences, and my target, the run-down house. The sun was setting as I finished my way down the long driveway. As I parked my truck, I got an unsettling feeling and a flash of one of my cases came to mind. It dealt with an old farmhouse like this. The family inside was all over the place, to say the least. Inside the living room was what seemed to be a man on his knees, but as I entered the room, it turned around, baring its teeth. It wasn't a man, but a witchigay. It charged at me, throwing me to the side and running out the door. I didn't see it again, but that family, what happened to them, always stuck. Seeing that really made me contemplate leaving and saying fuck this, but I needed to know what would drive a man to break down to that point. Cautiously, I walked up the steps, peering in the window to make sure no one was inside. Thankfully, the place was empty. I turned on my flashlight and reached for the doorknob until I heard, "Don't," very quietly. I shot around to see nothing. Thinking it was all in my head, I turned the knob and went in. As soon as I entered the house, I fell. I fell for what seemed to be minutes, sliding down this pitch black hole, head screaming and feeling hands grab and scratch at me. Feeling their nails rip and tear at my flesh, the warm blood running across my skin before finally hitting the ground. I awoke sitting on a chair and something standing across from me, waiting for my vision to come into focus. I was in what looked like a root cellar with a few lights barely on around the room. Trying to gain my composure, I finally heard something speak.
You come seeking answers, and now you are here.
I looked up to see, I'm not sure what. It wasn't just black. It was as if there was nothing there. A cutout of a man was standing in front of me. It was like the absence of light. No features or anything could be seen. The light from my flashlight didn't even appear on him. The dread resonating off of him made me want to scratch my eyes out to not feel it anymore. I quickly pulled out my recorder and pressed record before the being finally spoke up once again. Audio transcript case log 26. Name, entity, location, seller?
I am the essence of light in the absence of good. I am only darkness.
So, you're the devil?
No, you fucking idiot. I'm the embodiment of evil.
Sounds a lot like the devil to me.
Your Christian beliefs are not real. Every religion is wrong. When you die, there is no light. There is no heaven. No hell. Only darkness. You become a part of me. Before there was anything, there was me. And when everything ends, I will be all that remains. You are an insignificant speck in the infinite, always dying universe. Let me show you.
The being reached what seemed to be a hand at me, and I quickly scooted back, avoiding his grasp.
What if I don't want to see?
That is a first. Every being, person, or thing I have met has never rejected me. Never rejected truth. All those that have searched have never turned away.
But how am I supposed to believe you? You could just be lying. I saw what you did to B. He was a mess after running into you. I mean, you did also say you're the embodiment of evil.
What's more evil? Lying to you about what's really out there, or showing you the truth of everything?
But what is this so-called truth of yours? What will I see?
What you see depends on who you are. Some see good things, some see bad. It depends on the person.
That doesn't really make sense.
Do you want to see or not?
Fine. Fuck it. I'm in.
Audio transcript case log 26 end. With that, the being placed its hand on my head, and the most immeasurable things happened. It was as though I was seeing the past, present, and future all at once. The creation of everything, every universe, person, and plant. Then the destruction of it all. I felt 1,000 deaths and heard 1,000 pleas, but somehow focused on one thing. One of my first encounters with something. One of the dominoes that made the rest fall. It was Saturday, June 22nd, 1996. I was barely a boy, only 6 years old. My father just came home from work as my mother was finishing up supper. As we were eating, a loud screech came from outside, shattering the windows of our house. My father quickly got up and grabbed a knife before a beautiful woman with black hair stopped him. She wore a tattered dress, looked malnourished, and was covered in cuts. My father stood still, almost in a trance, and was unable to move. The woman inched closer, grabbed his head, and turned it to the side. My mother is wailing and telling me to look away before the woman spoke.
I'm sorry you have to see this.
With that, the woman got close to his ears, screaming in it as blood came out of his eyes and ears. Not only were my mom's ears bleeding too, but so were my own. I passed out soon after and woke up in the hospital, just to be told I was an orphan. More flashes came and went. I soon was in the deepest parts of what could have only been hell. Feeling whips hit my back and creatures dig their nails deep into my calves and pull down. Only for it to reset and happen again and again. Then being nailed to a wall and all my nails pulled off. These were some sadistic fuckers, I thought, as the last nail got ripped off. Only for them to grow back again. I woke up in bed, gasping for air as I shot up.
Are you okay? What happened?
I heard my wife say while she hugged me.
Just another nightmare. I think my medicine is messing with me.
I replied, getting up.
I'm gonna go make some coffee and get a little work done. Go back to bed.
I said before kissing her on the head and heading to the kitchen. It was 7 in the morning and the sun was just beginning to rise. I started a pot of coffee and grabbed my laptop to do my annual reports that were due next week. I was finally happy and living the life I wanted. It took years of therapy after my parents' death in that accident, but it was worth it. I finally had the woman of my dreams and 2 beautiful kids. Life was good. I awoke all of them with chocolate chip pancakes before going out and getting some groceries. While at the grocery store, I felt something watching me, but anytime I looked around, nothing was there. Until finally, in the corner of my eye, I saw the silhouette of a person. Almost like a cutout of a person. My head started ringing and my vision was getting blurry before the next thing I knew I was waking up gasping for air again. this time not waking my wife. The worst thing was I felt my body take control and grab a pillow. I couldn't do anything but scream in my mind as the pillow was placed over her head, and I watched her fight until she became limp. It happened over and over until I finally realized what was happening. I was punishing myself. I lost her long ago, but she's not dead. She just didn't want to be part of what I was doing. Something was pulling my strings. Flashes of light and a hand gripping my head tightly before waking up in a forest. Slowly getting up, I notice that I'm clad in armor. Hearing screams, I look up and watch as a vicious beast tears apart people wearing both the same and different colors than me. A werewolf. But that's not possible. They've been extinct since the Dark Ages. Then I remembered where I am and what I'm wearing.
Fuck!
I say as I look up and meet the hand of a bloody claws right in my face. Falling down, I feel my jaw slack and see my ear on the ground. Trying to get up, I feel the beast slash on my Achilles before feeling its mouth close around the back of my neck. I woke up on the floor panting for breath, not knowing what happened or what reality I'm in. Audio transcript case log 26. Name, identity. Location, cellar?
Have you had enough? Are you now willing to accept that what you do is for nothing?
Why is it for nothing, though?
Because in all realities and timelines, you die a horrible death. You will never live a happy life, only a life covered in darkness. Eating me solidifies that.
Caught you.
What did you say?
If you were a being that was here at the beginning and end, then how would you know we would meet?
We will always meet. I have been guiding your hand this whole way. I have put all the pieces in motion. I am the one you meet before or after death. What don't you understand?
How you supposedly know everything when you don't?
Well then, I will have to show you everything once more.
For the first time, I could see facial features in the entity. Sunken in eyes and a mouth full of sharp white teeth as it bore its hand towards me. It seemed ecstatic in the thought of torturing me more. But what it saw as torture, I saw as learning it. Everything has a weakness. I just need to find it.
Try your best.
Audio transcript case log 26, end. We huddled down on the trenches and slipped on our gas masks as the mustard shells rained down on our heads. It was only once the burning sensation began that I realized I'd forgotten to filter. Before the next two stories start, I just wanted to tell you that these were originally Patreon and member extra stories, and you get access to these extra stories every month. Scaredy Cat by FormerDeerlyBeloved. Nugget steps on my stomach again, eyes wide and staring at the closed bedroom door. I gently stroke her back, not really paying her any attention, as I scroll through my phone. She does this whenever she gets nervous, tries to get as close to me as she can whenever she hears a weird noise. In an apartment as thin-walled as mine, this happens pretty often, and her definition of weird noise is much wider than mine. The neighbor pulls into the parking lot. The AC turns on. A kid laughs outside the window. Nugget is one nervous kitty, but I've gotten pretty good at turning her out when she hears a noise she doesn't like. She still stares at the bedroom door, eyes wide and tail puffed. I gently rub her ears before rising from the bed. "What is it, girl?" I ask her gently, already pulling open the bedroom door. With a quick glance around, I confirmed what I already knew, that there was no boogeyman or monster waiting for me in the dim light of the hall. I make my way to the kitchen for a snack, Nugget glued to my ankle the whole way. "Sinky," I chided her. "Seeing ghosts again?" I flick on the kitchen light, making myself a sandwich, and lean against the counter to stare down at my nervous ball of fluff. "There's nothing here, love," I tell her gently. "The neighbors are asleep. It's just you and me here. The doors are..." I frown, noticing the kitchen door for the first time. Not only is it not locked, it isn't even shut all the way. I'm always very careful to make sure that door is closed all the way, as it's one that opens directly to the outside and always makes me a little nervous. Slowly, ears now perked for danger, I cross the door. Without even a glance in the darkness outside, I've seen the horror films. I firmly shut the door and make sure the bolt is locked tight. I listen again for a tense minute before breathing in a sigh of relief. "Nothing here," I repeated, more to myself than the cat. The light switch clicked off behind me. Notes from the writer. True story, mostly. My cat always freaks me out by hearing noises and making me think someone else is in the apartment. I went downstairs to prove her and me that there was nothing to be scared of. My fool roomie hadn't closed the door fully before leaving, so it had swung wide open. There was literally just a screen window between me, alone, and the people and things of the night. Sorry if it wasn't scary for you. I'm experimenting with personal horror and building suspense. Any feedback is much appreciated. I was Googling ways to murder my wife and get away with it, when I noticed someone had recently searched how to kill your husband. I deleted my search and hopped off the computer, as now I had evidence of self-defense. Valley Walker by MaxStickies. I always felt a connection to nature, a closeness very few seemed to possess. When I traveled through the valleys, life itself ran through my veins. I knew I was one with the willows hanging over the gentle streams, and the damselflies flittering between the reeds. I felt peaceful. Some nights I would stay there among the river, many branches flowing between the mountains, preferring the tranquility there to my village up above. Others tend to avoid me, unless they need medicine. Then I use my knowledge of the local herbs to heal whatever ailed them. But they never thanked me. Not that I needed them to. A return to the valleys was sufficient enough. To stride through the cooling water, fish floating pests, search for nymphs. On a night where I could see the stars falling overhead through the gaps in the leaves, I decided I would never leave. That closeness had become too intense to put to rest. I realized that I'm part of nature despite my human birth. Within months, I developed a second skin, the texture and hardness of willow bark. Moss grew upon my back. Ferns between the horns sprouted from my forehead. I gathered nutrition from the soil, no longer requiring human food. Time soon lost all meaning to me. I began to notice their presence, humans dressed in clothes I did not recognize. Laughing, playing, talking. Harmless fun, though it disturbed my peace. I watched them from behind the willow's downy branches. They became a problem when more arrived. Large group of humans, some having the audacity to fish in the valley streams, others hunting for sport with loud weapons. Areas were cleared to make way for log huts, so some of them could stay. This angered me greatly. My strength has grown since my mortal years. I've been able to tear through huts, selling new growth on their wrecks. If I spot a human, I bash their skull in. I display their corpse upon a dead tree for all the others to see. It does not warn them, and they often try to end me. They present to me no threat, but I fear for my wild kin. I must go where these humans live and end them once and for all. A few hours ago, my date texted me that they had arrived at my house. The problem is, whatever is outside my house is definitely not my date, but it has their phone. And with that, our time together is coming to an end. As always, I would like to thank the writers who let us read their stories to bring them to life. I truly hope you enjoyed how these stories were told and the narrators who brought each character to life separately. And each character was brought to life by different narrators. So, the main character was played by the Grimm Reapers Nightmare. John Doe was played by Shade from Darklittle Voices. The bartender was Moto XL. The entity was Horror on the Rocks. The dark creature was Duchess of Darkness. And the wife was played by Spookaira. Thank you for all lending your voices to bring these characters to life. All their links are down below or in the show notes if you'd like to check them out. A quick note to the people in the podcast, this Friday there will be no coffee stream upload. I didn't have one this week. Now, if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and make sure it feels it. If you're new, subscribe and turn that pretty little bell to all notifications. If you'd like to help this channel/podcast grow, please just share it with anyone who might enjoy it. If you'd like to help in other ways, I do have Patreon and memberships. All the links are down below. And if you like something pretty with my avatars on it, merch. And if you just like to buy me a coffee, well, I now have the app called Buy Me a Coffee and also PayPal. All the links are down below, including all the ones to my different socials. Last but never least, I would always love a comment, but I gotta get you that Sunday word first. On screen right now is everyone who left me a comment last week with last week's word. Thank you guys as always. I seriously look forward to the comments. Now, on to this Sunday's word, which is familiar. Familiar. So, write me a sentence down below using this word, this very familiar word, and you'll be in next week's video/photo. But as always, guys, thank you for watching and listening. Watching the podcast and the YouTube channel grow has been absolutely amazing. And this year, on both the podcast and YouTube channel, have both started on such a great foot. Thank you guys so much. Sleep tight and don't let 42 bite.